April is Confederate Heritage Month. To remind neo-Confederates and lost cause ass clowns what their heritage is, the Sons of Liberty is executing a daily series throughout this entire month across all of our social media, commemorating anniversary events and honoring Southerners who remained loyal to the United States. If you're just coming across our videos or our posts, make sure to follow the Sons of Liberty, as we'll be upsetting neo-Confederates and lost cause bigots. On day 6 of Union Victory Month, I'm going to introduce to you Cassius Marcellus Clay. No, that is not Justin Bieber ageified. The Clay family seems to have been super big fans of the Roman Republic because Cassius's older brother was also given a Latin name, Brutus Junius Clay. Clay was an abolitionist from Kentucky and, like many Republicans of his day, a flaming radical liberal. Today, Clay would be characterized by triggered snowflake conservatives as woke. If you're wondering, yes, this is the Cassius Clay who's the namesake of another Cassius Clay who renounced his name and traded it for the name Muhammad Ali. That's a whole different story for a different day, which we covered during Black History Month. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and get ahead of the comment section and say that yes, we acknowledge this Cassius Clay was somewhat of a scumbag, but what he isn't is a slave-owning Southern conservative oligarch who betrayed his country. Ooh. Cassius was a fucking wild man. There is no other way to put it. Clay was such a pain-in-the-ass abolitionist that he made a lot of enemies. A lot of enemies. But Clay was a fucking badass and mounted a goddamn cannon in the front door of his house to deter enemies from fucking with him. Clay was also a brawler because conservatives back then, much like today, still liked to espouse violence to get their way. Never forget that Southern conservative and supporter of slavery, Representative Preston Brooks, walked into the Senate and beat the ever-loving hell out of abolitionist liberal Republican Senator Charles Sumner. But I digress. Back to Clay. Once during a political debate, he survived an assassination attempt by a hired gun named Sam Brown. Clay had, by this time, taken to carrying pistols, plural, and a Bowie knife, because America, fuck yeah. Brown tried to kill Clay and failed. The scabbard of Clay's Bowie knife was tipped with silver, and in jerking the Bowie knife out in retaliation, Clay pulled the scabbard up so that it was just over his heart. Brown's second bullet struck the scabbard and embedded itself in the silver. Despite having been shot in the chest, Clay tackled Brown, and with his Bowie knife, he removed Brown's nose and one eye, and possibly an ear, before he threw Brown over an embankment. Remember that cannon I was talking about? Well, Clay published an anti-slavery newspaper in Kentucky called The True American, because this guy was fanatical about his love for his country. Too bad his spirit didn't rub off on the conservative cos-patriots who try to gatekeep patriotism. Well, in typical conservative fashion, the racists hated this guy's paper and immediately started sending death threats. Sound familiar? 160 plus fucking years later, and these motherfuckers are still beating the shit out of people that they disagree with and sending death threats because they're mad that somebody else is too woke for them. Fucking conservatives, am I right? Goddamn. Goddamn, that's good. Anyway, so death threats. Clay, already well-armed, decided to up-armor the doors of his establishments, which he then barricaded, and then the crazy motherfucker set up not one, but 2 4-pounder cannons inside. This fucking liberal took the Second Amendment seriously. Clay was also attacked by the 6 Turner brothers, who beat, stabbed, and tried to shoot Clay. Clay successfully fought off all 6. In the process, he also gutted Cyrus Turner using his Bowie knife. When the Civil War broke out, Clay, who was friends with Abraham Lincoln, was asked by Lincoln to go be an ambassador to Russia and secure their support. Clay took his abolitionist ideas to Russia to a point where he convinced Russian Tsar Alexander II to emancipate Russian serfs. This edict, called the 1861 Emancipation Manifesto, freed some 23 million Russians from servitude and gave them the full rights of free citizens. Clay had such a profound effect on Russia that it threatened to attack Britain and France if they so much as twitched a hint of recognition at the Confederacy, which we'd like to remind everyone was never legitimized by any foreign government. In 1862, Clay was recalled to the United States and was immediately asked by President Lincoln, who was also known as a brawler back in his earlier years, to be a general in the Union Army. Clay publicly refused to accept it unless it was on the condition that Lincoln immediately emancipate Confederate slaves. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was drafted in early July and presented to closed associates on July 13th. The draft had such a shocking effect that they were stunned into silence at first. Today, we tend to characterize the Emancipation Proclamation as something of a hollow act, freeing slaves in areas where its effect had no reach. I choose to see it as a means of softening up northern white supremacists who remained loyal to the United States, gradually easing them into acceptance. I see it as softening their opposition and playing on their loyalties by tying the cause of emancipation to the cause of the Union. Anyway, back to Clay. Clay went on to speak in favor of nationalizing railroads and spoke against the powers being accrued by industrialists. He also married a woman who became a suffragette and raised 2 daughters who fought for women's rights. Quick shout out to 21st century suffragettes. Just as we'll be talking about Southern Unionists all month long, we'll also be running a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo to create a year-long web series on Civil War history. We have over 80,000 subscribers on YouTube alone, so if just 10% of them gave $5 each, we'd be well past our funding goal. Funding this campaign means that the Sons of Liberty admins get to take you on an exciting historical journey and, at the same time, help educate or debunk, depending, various bits of Civil War history, myths, legends, and lies. If you grew up in the South, then you probably know exactly what I mean instinctively. A reminder that the Confederacy were traitors who betrayed the United States and tried to destroy the Union out of spite. A reminder that heritage, not hate, is lost cause horseshit. A reminder that the lost cause narrative is revisionist history bullshit. A reminder that the South seceded over slavery and economic factors tied to slavery. Also, another reminder that the Confederacy is a bunch of traitors who lost the war that they started, got their asses kicked, and then were forced to beg to be readmitted into the Union. P.S. Your flag is a participation trophy. Die mad about it. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry.